Hello there, welcome back to another mid-season, off-season, quarantine edition of Hockey Talkie. I got some news for you, some Blackhawks trade news, although I do need to warn you, it's not about a brand new trade. So if you came to this video hoping for that, sorry I misled you, didn't mean to. But there is new news, it's just about a previous trade, a trade that happened at the trade deadline this past year. If you recall, the Chicago Blackhawks traded defenseman Erik Gustafsson to the Calgary Flames in exchange for a conditional third-round pick. We now have news about that conditional third-round pick because of the fact that the NHL has recently officially declared the regular season as done. Now, the condition of that third-round pick is essentially that it would be the better of the two possible third-round picks that the Calgary Flames would have in their possession. There's the original Calgary Flames third-round pick, and then there's an additional third-round pick that the Calgary Flames might be getting based on a trade they made with Edmonton involving the players Milan Lucic and James Neal. And that's where the whole ending of the regular season comes into play, because that trade between Calgary and Edmonton involves a third-round pick coming from Edmonton to Calgary that was conditional based on the regular season performance of James Neal and Milan Lucic. The condition that would make that third-round pick get sent from Edmonton to Calgary was that James Neal had to score at least 21 goals for the Oilers, and Milan Lucic had to score at least 10 fewer goals than James Neal. So, for example, if James Neal scores 21 goals, that means Milan Lucic could only score 11 goals and still have that requirement met. If he scored 12 goals, well, then that would mean that he would only score 9 fewer goals than James Neal, and therefore the requirements would not get met. Hopefully that makes sense. But now that the regular season has officially been considered done, completed, we can take a look at the stats and see how many goals each of these players scored and see if these conditions have been met. So if we look at the stats, we'll see that Milan Lucic only scored 8 goals this year and also scored 11 fewer goals than James Neal. So that half of the conditional requirement has been met. However, if you've done the math already, you'll know that that means James Neal has only scored 19 goals, and so the other half of the conditional requirement has not been met, which means that the condition as a whole has not been met, and therefore the third-round pick will not be getting sent from Edmonton to Calgary, which then means that the Chicago Blackhawks would be getting the Calgary Flames' own third-round pick in exchange for Erik Gustafsson, and the Calgary Flames would just not have a third-round pick for this upcoming draft. We can assume that, right? Well, not quite. You see, there's an argument to be made that if NHL teams were able to play their remaining 10 to 12 games to finish off a normal 82-game schedule, a scenario that was just assumed would happen when these conditional requirements were thought up, that players like James Neal would score the 2 additional goals needed to meet those conditional requirements. However, we can't just assume that James Neal would score 2 more goals in the remaining 10 to 12 games. That's a fallacy of foregone conclusion. You can't assume that, no matter how likely it may seem. So that means these conditional requirements are kind of up in the air, even though the regular season is done. So the NHL has to make a decision on these conditional picks throughout the league, not just this one that we're talking about. But the NHL hasn't made that decision yet, and for good reason, because they're focused on more important issues. They have this return to play initiative that they're trying to do, which has so many things that they have to figure out, so many details, planning, logistics, everything. It's taken up all their time. So issues like conditional picks are taking a back seat right now, and they will probably continue to take a back seat until the NHL actually returns to play. So unfortunately, even though the NHL regular season is done, we still don't actually know if the conditional requirements have been met for this Erik Gustafsson trade, which third-round pick the Blackhawks will be getting. Would it be the Calgary Flames' original third-round pick, or will it be the possible Edmonton Oilers' third-round pick? We don't know yet. So, in a sense, there's still no news on this, so I guess this was kind of wasted. Sorry I wasted your time. Although, maybe I cleared up some questions you didn't even know you had. Therefore, maybe it wasn't wasted time. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Let me know if your time has been wasted or not down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate that as always. But most importantly, stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time.